This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo, giving you the inside track on all the big talking points from Anfield.
Welcome along to a special edition of the Blood Red podcast to talk about Liverpool's potential new signing, Romeo Lavia. To do that, I'm joined by Belgian coach Arno van den Abbeel, who worked with him at Anderlecht and the Belgian national team as well. Nice to have you along, Arno.
Yeah, good morning, Ben. Nice to meet you, and thanks for the invitation. So let's do this.
Okay, so to begin with, you mentioned to me that you worked with him at Anderlecht at the under 9 and under 10 age group. So obviously that's a very young age group. Do you remember the first time you saw him play? What was he like? What was your first impression?
First time I saw him, I think he came into the club when he was 8 or 9. He played for a regional club on the lower level at Zaventem. And he came to Anderlecht. He was already quite big for his age. He was quite tall. And he played more like in 5v5 or 8v8. He played more like in a central position. He was not so fast in the beginning. He had some difficulties with speed and acceleration, but when he was growing up, he developed into a more explosive player. But he was already technically quite good, and at that age he was quite quite concentrated, quite focused on what he wanted to achieve already. So he was always eager to learn. He was always trying to do 100% what was asked from him. So at that young age, he was not quite as playfulish, or he was already quite mature for his age at that time.
And you mentioned about his speed maybe not being as good. Did you work on him in that area, or was there anything that you worked with him in specific at that age?
But not specific. Of course, you work on him like you do with all the players. You work on a coordination level or a speed level. But it was also just I think it was just growing fast on a very young age, and he had to develop some motor skills and coordination skills while growing up. And when he was growing up, it showed that he had more explosiveness than we thought he had. So they're not good for him.
In that age group, would you say he was among the better players, or did he stand out in any way?
Yeah, he did stand out. He was more like above average in that age group. Yeah, certainly.
Obviously, then you fast forward a few years, you moved on from Anderlecht to the Belgium national team. And you decided to call him up for the under 15 selection. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And what was the reasoning behind that decision? Did you follow his career after you left Anderlecht and after you worked with him? Why did you decide to pick him for the national team?
I did not follow him specifically. We follow all players of that age group, so he was just standing out, and he earned that selection based on what he showed on the pitch in Anderlecht. He was already playing an age group higher, so he was playing under 16 at that time. And we do most of the scouting. We do it under 15 with our staff. But the staff of under 16 was telling me, you definitely have to call this player up. Say, I know him. So we do some bigger detection moments where he was standing out quite early. But he had a very busy schedule with Anderlecht. I remember he was already playing under 16, sometimes under 17. He was playing the big tournaments with the club. So it was not always... it was not always easy to call him up for smaller games or smaller detection moments. But I remember he did two or three games with us. He didn't went with us to England. I think he didn't play in England, but he played against Holland and he played against Switzerland. And yeah, I played him out as a central defender at that time, because at that time he was also a bit of in between. At the club he was playing sometimes central defender when they were playing with a back three, also with a back four, but sometimes in a back three he played in the central position. But he often also was moved through to midfield, and yeah, it was a decision there. We had a lot of midfielders at that age group, and I played him as a central defender, and he did really good there. And it might have helped him develop defensive skills or leadership skills he's showing now. So yeah, it was evident to call him at that time. He was really standing out in his age group, and he was a top level player at that time.
Obviously, it had been a few years since you last coached him. Was he different in any way in terms of his character or his ability as a player? Did he change?
No, he became a lot more explosive. As I said, he was more. He had a lot more speed, and he was very mobile. He became very mobile, very agile on the pitch. He could turn quickly. He could accelerate fast. He was technically superior. He had developed a good insight in the game. He was very proactive on defensive level, but also on offensive level. He played a lot of one-touch moments when he recuperates balls or intercept balls. So no, he didn't surprise me, I must say, but he had still the same drive, and that pleased me a lot, that he was still very focused on what he wanted to achieve. And it was, I think, after that year as well, he left Anderlecht to go to City, because there, I think Pep Guardiola watched him play here in Belgium, in Drongen, at the Kevin De Bruyne Club, which is a tournament for under 15 players. And I think it was that year or the year after he left for City. So yeah, he had a dream, and he went full 100% for that dream, I think.
In terms of what was he like on the training pitch? You obviously coached him in Anderlecht and in the Belgium national team as well. What was he like? Was he someone who was always listening and very attentive to what you were saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what you are saying. He was very, very focused, very eager to learn. He was always concentrated, always his mind on football, and doing things he had to do 100% right. So no, it was a really pleasure to work with, and they should all be like him.
I noticed in the game against Switzerland, you mentioned you played him as a defender, but he scored in that game, isn't that right?
Yeah, it could be right. I don't really remember his goal, but it could be right. He scored there, but I don't know how it went anymore.
Okay, my next question was going to be.
Maybe you know better. You can show me the clip where he scored.
I have tried to find it. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to. So my next question was going to be to ask you to describe the goal, but obviously you don't remember either. So,
I might look back now. I will try to look back, and I'll let you know if I find the goal.
Okay. So you mentioned, we talked about Man City. Were you surprised to see him make that step to Manchester City? It was very young at the time. It's a big move to leave the country and go to a huge club and a huge academy.
Yeah, of course. I think everyone was surprised. It's a very big club, and he's very young at that time. And yeah, people are always a bit skeptic on Belgian players leaving that young to a top club, because there are only a few who make it, and it's not the most easy part. The most easy part would have been to keep growing in Anderlecht and try to make it in the first team, where everybody believed in him and everybody was making big plans for him at a very young age. that would have been the easy way. So I think he chose a bit more difficult way, but that's maybe also says more about him than it says something more about him. But yeah, I was surprised, but yeah, everybody saw his talent. So it's not only City who wanted him. I think there were a lot of clubs wanting him to play for them. So yeah, I think it's not the easy part, but the difficult part. But I think everyone was quite surprised he made the step, because I remember all the federation and the club tried to convince him not to go this early. But I think he had a plan in his head, and he wanted to execute it, and it turned out quite good. It turned out quite perfect for him, I think.
Yeah, have you followed his career closely since he moved to City? Did you keep an eye on him at Southampton? And have you been surprised by how quickly he's been able to establish himself in the Premier League and in England?
I did not see every game of him, but you follow him on social media, or you follow him on his competition where he plays in. I think I followed the UEFA Youth League where he played with City. And then, of course, I saw some Premier League games of Southampton. And when he was in Belgium and he was playing with under 18 or under 19, I saw some games of him. But yeah, it's not like I do it with a lot of players. Of course, when you train them for a couple of years, you keep following them, and you're always curious about how they're doing and what their next steps will be. So, yeah.
How highly rated is he in Belgium? He's obviously already played for the senior national team at such a young age. Is he regarded as one of the biggest talents for the future?
I think so, yeah. I think some press release this summer top 50 of Belgian talents, and he was number 1 on that list. So, yeah, I think he's highly rated with coaches, but also with a lot of people who are following Belgian youth football. They see him as a big prospect, and I think he has a big future before him. Yeah, he also had already one or two call-ups for the A team of Red Devils, so he's on the good way, and I think he's one of the best we have at that age. Now.
Now he's being linked to the move to Liverpool. It seems like Liverpool are closing in on his signature. Do you think he's ready for that move? Is he ready to make the leap? And obviously the rumours of Fabinho potentially leaving, is he ready to replace someone like Fabinho?
You never know when you're ready until you make the step. So I think he has made the right steps in his career. So why not? And the fact that Liverpool wants him or wants to pay a lot of money for him, I think it proves that he's ready for it, and the club also thinks he's ready to make the step. But I don't know the situation with the transfer. But I think if he's there and he will play, he will show his talent, and the club will see his potential, and I think he will grow even more because he's still very young.
If he does go to Liverpool, what could the Liverpool fans expect of him? Obviously, you coached him and you know him very well. What could he bring to Liverpool? What are his best qualities?
Well, I think first of all, he brings a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work in training field, and besides that, so what you can expect is a technically very gifted player who has a good insight in the game, who is very strong physically, has a lot of explosive power, has a lot of proactiveness in his game, can accelerate the game, can break lines, can play forward easily. And yeah, I think on that position, he's one of the best in the world of his age group. I believe he's one of the best.
Obviously, he's got quite good defensive qualities. Like you said, you played him at centre back as well. Do you see him as a ball winner as well? Someone who can read the game really well.
Yeah, I think in that position you have to be a bit of that type of player. So yeah, he has a good insight in stealing balls. It's like a bit, it's his proactiveness. He reads the game very good. He sees what's going to happen before it happens. So yeah, he will do good in that position.
And finally, you mentioned, in Belgium, he's highly rated. They regard a press release that he's not the number one prospect for the future. How far do you think he can go? What is his potential?
What is his potential? Yeah, it's difficult. It's always difficult to make predictions on potential of talent. But I think his potential is the top level, the Kevin De Bruyne level, the highest level we have in Belgium. That's what his goal should be, I think, and that's what his potential also is. So I hope for him he reaches it, but it has a lot of factors and it's influenced by a lot of things in your career. So we'll see if he reaches full potential, but he has the basis to reach the very high ends of the top of football, I think.
And if you had to compare him to a player in his position, could you compare him to anyone, or is he quite unique in the way he plays?
Difficult one. Maybe like a Seedorf type of player, Clarence Seedorf type of player. I would say more like a Clarence Seedorf type of player. Very explosive, very powerful, good positioning, plays forward easily. Yeah, but Seedorf played higher on the field, I think, more as a number 10. So maybe it's like a mix of Edgar Davids and Clarence Seedorf. Let's keep it with that.
Okay, that's exciting. Well, thank you for your time, Arno. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best. And hopefully, Romeo does fulfill his potential, and hopefully he signs for Liverpool as well. And we're looking forward to seeing him in a red shirt. Thank you very much.
Okay, see you guys.
You've been listening to the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.